So what was Sony thinking with this release? They already have a 50mm f1.2 GM lens, a lens so good, an all-new 50mm f1.4 GM lens, that's what we're here to talk about today, and compare it against the Sigma 51.4 DGDN lens. Check out these sample images. As you saw from the sample images, the 51.4 is a fantastic lens in terms of rendering, sharpness, bokeh, color. It's great. So much so, in terms of performance, it's so close to the 51.2. As I mentioned earlier, I don't know what Sony's thinking. Now, there are some benefits to the 1.2 versus the 1.4, but they're very minute. Let's talk about specs between all three of these lenses. For the 51.4, comes in at 516 grams, which is the lightest of the three. 67mm filter diameter, which is the same as the 35 1.4 and 24 1.4, by the way, and roughly the same size. 11 rounded aperture blades, all three of them have that same commonality into them. Close focusing on the 1.4 is 0.41 meters, and manual focus is about 0.38, so you get a little bit more with manual focus. You got two XD linear motors and two XA elements, which are extreme spherical elements. Now we move to the 51.2, 778 grams. It's the heaviest of the bunch. 72mm filter diameter on that, so it's slightly larger. 11 rounded aperture blades as well. Close focusing is 0.4 meters versus 0.41. We're just splitting hairs at that point in time. 3 XA elements, which are extreme spherical elements, as I mentioned, and 4 XD linear motors inside of it. So it has more focusing motors to push more glass. It's a 1.2 versus 1.4, and it comes in around roughly $2,000 US. And now for the Sigma 51.4, comes in at 660 grams, 72mm for the filter diameter on that, 11 rounded aperture blades. Close focusing is 0.45 versus 0.4 and 0.41 respectively. 3 spherical elements and high response linear actuator autofocusing system, which is, as I mentioned before, the same as the 60-600 from Sigma that recently just came out. Those are the specs. How do they perform in real life? Now, I actually did a recording with the Animus Ninja 5 on top of the Sony a7R5. I was doing a focusing test with my motorcycle, and as you're going to see here, there is a slight edge to the 1.2, ever so slight, but unless you're comparing all three next to each other, you're not going to notice the difference. Now, in terms of sharpness, again, a slight hair to the 51.2. There's no discernible difference to the naked eye unless you pixel peep 200 or 400%. Will you see the difference? In average photographs you're going to be putting online, social media, or printing, you're probably not going to notice. How's the bokeh? Is there a difference between 1.2 and 1.4? Slight. The average person will not know. What I did notice between three lenses was the chromatic aberration purple fringing. Sony's still has it on the 1.4 and the 1.2, but it's more well controlled. On the Sigma, it is very prominent. You can notice it right away, especially on the badge of the Speed Triple RR. You see it right there, a big difference between the Sony's and the Sigma. Go for the 1.4. It's the best of all three in my personal opinion. It's smaller, very similar to the same size as the 35 1.4 and the 24 1.4. So if you're a videographer using a gimbal, it will pretty much match. The same filter diameter as those other two lenses as well. So it's a perfect match if you're a prime shooter or a videographer and you need that. This is gonna be the lens for you. The 51.2 is the unicorn lens. This is Sony's creme de la creme for fast aperture, high performance out there. Will you maximize this? It's like having a Ferrari and going down the highway 90 miles an hour. You're not maximizing the Ferrari. You look good having it. People are gonna stop and stare at you, but will you actually take advantage of it? And in terms of the Sigma, it's a great lens, but the price point is the most attractive feature to it. Will that be something that sways you? I think we have a winner. I'll go for this Sony 1.4 all day long if I have the means to afford it. A little bit more than the Sigma, but is it that much more in terms of size, compactness, and performance? Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts on the all-new 51.4 GM lens from Sony. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot. Take care, stay safe, and I'll chat to you soon.